Welcome to the Steno Barbie Boot Camp. All right, dolls, we are about to embark on a journey. We are going to dive headfirst into the dazzling world of Magnum Steno, and we are going to learn a bunch of short writing concepts. It's a boot camp. It's going to be intense, and this next hour is going to be packed with so much information. My name is Katiana Walton. I am the founder of StenoKey Learning, which is an online learning steno school. Whether you're first starting steno, you maybe don't know anything about it, or even if you're a seasoned court reporter seeking to get certifications, or because you want to start providing real time, or even do speed competitions. Wherever you may lie in your steno journey, StenoKey definitely has a place for you. As for me, I've been a court reporter since 2008, and I've been real timing since the summer of 2014. And what really sparked that change and made me become a real-time writer is because I learned the Magnum Steno theory. I can explain so much about that, but I have many other videos on my page, on my YouTube page, so just check them out so you can hear my story. The other thing is I am the founder of the Ladies Steno Speed Clinic, so it's super fun, 3-day in person, and I've gone all over the United States hosting these clinics, and I don't know, I love it. So let's get ready to embark on our first concept. We are going to work on the key combo KB. So in KB, when you have this KB combination as seen on the screen, we are going to be able to write words that start with EMB, EMP, IMB, and IMP. So we're going to endeavor to cover everything that you can do with that. And if you're wondering why K and B, just think Ken and Barbie. Here are just a few words that employ the KB key combo. Now, I made a little sentence. It could help you. Help you remember it. Ken is impressed by how Barbie empowers everyone, embraces change, and imbibes grace. So what you can see here is the words in pink. They're going to actually employ that KB key combo. And you can see what I have in bold there are the letters that it starts with, so therefore we can use the KB combination. So we're definitely going to get into this deeply. But first, I want you to ask yourself this question. How do you write the word bark? Like, what is your steno outline for the word bark? I want you to think of each individual key that you press to write the word bark. Now, most of us, if not all of us, write it exactly like what is on the screen. And when you look at it, especially if you've never seen steno before, you're just like, how in the world does that even make sense? How can we see PWARBG to mean the word bark? Well, we know in steno, specific key combinations are used to represent phonetic sounds, parts of words, and obviously letters. And we do this all in order to write faster and efficiently. And of course, this is how bark would look if we were actually on the keyboard. And since this is everyone's way of writing bark, writing embark will be an absolute breeze. Let's dive into one way of using our KB key combo. We're going to use the KB key combo to represent that EMB sound found at the beginning of words. So we're going to press the KB to capture that sound. So we have the word bark again, just as a friendly reminder. For example, to write the word embark, you would use the KB key combination because embark starts with EMB. So what you do is you write KB, and then whatever follows that EMB, which would be in this case arc, you combine it within the same stroke. Therefore, embark would result in the steno of KBARK. Now, one thing is, we remember when we first learned steno, this would have looked crazy, just the same way the word barked looked crazy. Trying to understand that PW is B and BG is K, it's like OMG, right? How are we ever going to remember it? But look at us remembering it. And the same way you did it with B and K, you can definitely do it with this KB combination. Therefore, bark becomes embark simply by adding K or imposing the KB onto the arc. This method of using KB for EMB words is really part of an entire systematic approach to steno. So this is going to help you write words much faster without compromising on accuracy. And this is all 100% from the Magnum Steno theory. So here are some words that showcase this concept. And I know there's a whole bunch of stuff on the screen. We're going to see a bunch of stuff flashing, and don't worry, there is a workbook that you'll have so that you can follow along and review the material. When you use the key combination KB for words that start with EMB, it's going to help you write words in at least one fewer stroke compared to the traditional phonetic way of writing it. So this is how we keep shorthand short. So yes, the KB combination may seem extremely weird for words that start in EMB, but it really is quite easy to implement. On the screen, you have practice sentences so that you can embark on writing embark as such. Now, feel free to pause and work on it. Now, some of you maybe have already a brief for embark, and that's great. You don't have to change it, but writing embark as shown on the screen is really a systematic one-stroker, and it wouldn't even be called a brief. It would just be a short writing concept. Once you can confidently write embark this way, it's time to start working on it with its endings. Tucking in your endings or adding your endings to an outline is the easiest way to shorten your writing and the one with the greatest reward. The easiest one for everyone watching would be embarked, because you're simply adding final D. And even embarks is pretty simple because you're just adding final S, which is the same you would do if you were writing it in English or like longhand English, right? Only embarking looks a little weird, right? It looks a little weird, but we already know the name of the game is to write short, and therefore we found a way to write embarking in one stroke. It is actually an advanced Magnum Steno concept. Magnum Steno teaches that if you cannot tuck in final G due to it being used in the current stroke or because it would cause a conflict, you add final DZ instead. So final DZ would be used for that ing suffix. Therefore, embark becomes embarking simply by adding final DZ. And again, here are some practice sentences with using embarking. Feel free to pause the video. I promise you I'll be here when you get back. Now, I'm going to make a bold statement. You should train yourself to never come back for the endings ing, ed, s. I'm not saying that you won't end up writing it as in a separate stroke from time to time, but you should train yourself not to. It is the absolute easiest way to shorten your writing. Anyway, let's get back into the presentation. We have the word bold, and we could make it embold simply by adding initial K or imposing KB for that EMB. And then of course, all we're left with to write is old. But oddly enough, Embold isn't a word, but embolden is. You can actually write embolden in one stroke by tucking in final N. And you can do this, meaning tucking in final N, for a lot of words that have the EN suffix. Now, going back to my bold claim, if you want to write a word like emboldened in one stroke, you can do it. Simply add final T to the outline. In Magnum Steno, when you cannot add final D to an outline for the ED suffix, you can just add final T to that outline and voila, there's your ED suffix. So to break it down, if you want the ED suffix, you ask yourself, hey, can I add final D? If the answer is yes, use final D. If the answer is no, use final T. Now, I bet you already are finding yourself impressed with how much more efficient your writing can be by incorporating these methods. By writing shorter, you're not only streamlining your work, but you're also reducing stress. And not just the stress on your mind, but the stress on your body. Now, embody is written by adding K to the brief for body. So I write body B-O-E-D. We can make it embody by adding initial K or imposing the KB to the body. Embody. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there is an accompanying workbook to help guide you on this whole journey, so definitely make sure you download it. It's really going to help you see and understand these concepts. Now, one of the things is you're going to have a worksheet that looks just like this, and it's going to show you that when you look at these common words, how you already write them, how an easy transition it will be to start integrating these key combinations so that you can really transform your writing so that you can really write short. Now, here are a few examples of using final T for that ED suffix. So you can see all of these outlines end in final D. So like we have embodied and we make it embodied by adding final T. Same thing with embed to embedded, and of course embolden to emboldened. If you're ready to boss up your writing even more, I have a lot more for you. Another way to truly boss up your writing is using the Philly shift. The Philly shift comes into play when you're dealing with outlines that end in final S and you need to add the final D for the ED suffix. And you do this by shifting your pinky to tap the final D and allowing your ring finger to tap the final S. So there's a little shift happening right there. So basically ring finger on final S, pinky on final D. That is what the Philly shift is all about. Now you could also add the suffix ment or meant to many outlines simply by adding final mt. Here are two variations of the word embodiment. The first one simply stacks the final mt into the root outline of embody, and the other one has omitted the final D from the original outline to make it easier to stroke. And also, maybe you could think about it this way, is that ment is a suffix. So it would make sense that the suffix is the end of the word. So drop that final D, use the final mt because that's the end of the word. But if you're not sure which one you're going to use, I recommend having both in your dictionary. Just have both. Also, just want to mention, if you're interested, we had a giveaway, but there's no giveaway happening right now, but definitely check out one of our sponsors, which was StenoFluencer. So definitely TikTok, Etsy, Instagram, she's all over there. So very fun videos that really make you proud to be a stenographer. Now, I want to be clear, there are some concepts that are genuinely challenging, but don't worry because it's manageable with time and effort. Now, I'm going to share a concept with you, and I'm really not going to embellish it. It's tough, all right? It is tough, and I wasn't using it until after I started presenting this so many times that I was like, you know what? I'm going to start using it. But just know that a week before these presentations, I was absolutely not using this. But as your teacher, I believe in your potential to master this, so I am going to share it with you. And I'm not talking about the word embellish. That one is actually pretty easy because we're using that KB, of course, for that EMB, and then we have the ERBL. So we use that RBL for that shawl sound. It's the upcoming concept that requires a lot of concentration. So let's just brace yourself because we are about to navigate it together. Magnum Steno uses final LGTS for the tal sound. So this is in words like battle, settle, bottle. And of course, you can combine multiple Magnum Steno concepts together because it is a theory. Therefore, battle, we would write battle, LGTS is our toll sound. And therefore, to write embattle, we're simply going to add initial K to that because we use KB for words that start with EMB. So when we're blending these techniques together, this is why it's so important to work with a theory. Everything, even complex words, you can write them accurately. Now, do you remember the start? We're not finished with it. When we can't use final G or final DZ for the ing ending, the ing suffix, for whatever reason, it's time to use the asterisk. Embattle becomes embattling by adding the asterisk. Now, you may be wondering, okay, I understand why we didn't use final G, but why didn't we just use final DZ? Well, dolls, I have an answer for you. Remember my bold claim about training yourself to write your endings all in the same stroke to like tuck them in? Well, Magnum Steno takes it really seriously, and that leads to quite a unique process for writing words with the endings like embattle. So the logical thing to make embattle into embattles would be to add final Z. But OMG, how are we going to do that? It's pretty much impossible if we are respecting the fingering demands of Steno. So what we'll have to do is actually shift our pinky so that it can hit final DZ and final TS at the same exact time. Now, in order to write embattled, or using the ED suffix, we can't just use final D because we're going to run into that same issue. And then obviously we can't use final DZ because then we would have a conflict with embattles. And therefore, we are going to use asterisk DZ to add the ED suffix to an outline ending in LGTS. Yes, I know, it's a lot. Like I said, I was not using this for basically 9 years since I had been taught it. I was just like, not me. But even though I don't use it, or I didn't use it, I can tell you right now, it is super logical. Magnum Steno is a super systematic theory, and it's very easy to learn, especially when you have the right materials and a helpful instructor. So we already talked about using DZ for the ing suffix, but sometimes that too won't work, and that's why we had to take it to the next level, which is using asterisks. So when an outline ends in LGTS for that idle sound, you'll use the asterisk for the ing suffix. Therefore, embattle becomes embattling simply by adding the asterisk. I want to point out that there is a difference between a brief and a short writing concept. Here we have emblem. Emblem is a short writing concept. You don't have to memorize the outline. You only need to remember that you use KB for all words that start with EMB. So then, of course, all you're left with is that LEM or that lem sound, As you see on the screen, we would write emblem KBLEM. Whereas emblematic is a brief. You would have to memorize it. I hope you're finding a way to embrace these concepts, especially the endings. They will save you so much time so you can spend more time doing things you love. Now, you don't have to start using all of these concepts at once, just pick one. Magnum Steno is a conflict-free theory, so some advanced writing concepts are used as necessary. For example, for the word embracing, you can simply tuck in final G for that ing suffix. Or you can use the concept of final F pretending to be an S and write embracing as KBRAIFG. Now, final F pretending to be an S is a concept that is used in the Magnum Steno theory for words that end in that S sound but would be followed by a K or an M. We'll get into that a bit more. Using the final F for that S sound is a way to help you not be embroiled with conflicts. But if you know me, you know I believe conflicts in your writing, especially as a student, is the most practical way to get out of school quicker. Now, it's important that I make the distinction of having conflicts as a student and as a professional because it's different. It's definitely different. All of us, no matter where we are in our journey, we are building our own personal steno empire. But it's so important for you to know what your immediate goals are so that you can practice effectively. So whether you're trying to build your empire by getting out of school or because you're trying to get your real-time cute and saleable, it's really time to evaluate your writing methods. Which reminds me, you can also use KB for words starting with EMP, like empire. And here are a few words you can use this concept on. Here is a chart comparing Magnum Steno and the traditional ways of writing these words. Magnum Steno really makes short writing easy and systematic. And I truly want you to feel empowered with this knowledge, and I want you to feel unstoppable. And I think unstoppable is such an important word when we describe stenographers because think about it. We hate hesitation. And what does hesitation make us do? It makes us stop. I want you to be unstoppable. And really, with dedicated practice, mastery is just around the corner. We just have to embrace the journey. In the dictation that you're going to receive and download, you're going to notice that Barbie attends the Steno Empowerment Academy. You too, whatever Steno school you attend, should be an academy of empowerment. And if you're looking for a Steno school that will keep you accountable and focus on what you need as an individual to break through speed barriers and plateau, definitely consider StenoKey. Now, Steno is really my passion. Like, I am absolutely obsessed, and I have been able to show my love for this industry and this craft with my StenoKey school. And we are accepting new participants. And so definitely feel free, sign up for an interview, make a phone call, ask me whatever you want to ask. This is the time for you to make the change. This is the time for you to embark on this journey of writing a short and just getting your Steno life together. Now, let's get back into this, right? Let's talk about passion. We write passion, P-A-G-S. And therefore, in passion, we can simply add KW. But honestly, I don't like thinking about it that way. I don't like that. I rather just think of, hey, KB, we use that for words that start with IMP. And then whatever follows it, which in this case would be ashen, we write that in one stroke. Oh my, I almost forgot something super important. We're on to a new concept. In Magnum, you would use the KB key combination for words that start with IMP. That way you could write so many words in one stroke. And here are just a few of the words you can use this concept on. And of course, we have another comparison chart. You'll see Magnum Steno will really shorten your writing once you start implementing the concepts. And honestly, it's so easy. And I'm sure already with what we've learned, you can see that it's going to have a tremendous impact on your writing. Now, for words like impact, I'm sure many of you already have a one-stroker, a brief, an outline you had to memorize. Using a one-stroke outline based on a short writing concept is superior because you only have to master one concept versus memorizing a bunch of briefs. And even for common words like important and importance, it's really best to use this concept. That way you can free up that other outline for super important, like, I don't know, really tricky multi-syllabic words that really might need a brief. Now, I'm not trying to impede on your way of doing things, but you did decide to watch this boot camp for a reason. And therefore, I just have to implore you to consider how much time and stress you can save on your body by incorporating these short writing concepts. Another thing I want to implore you to do, because it is absolutely imperative, is to look for patterns when you are learning. This really helps the material stick. And looking for and recognizing patterns is a sure way to avoid any impediments in your learning journey. For example, impediment and embodiment both use final MT for that MENT or ment suffix. And they do this all in one stroke, and they get rid of that final D from the original stroke. Now, again, I'm not trying to impose this new way of writing on you, but you did sign up, you did click play for a reason. We have impose, of course we know we use our KB for words that start with IMP, and now we have impose a different way, using final F. Now, I don't do this, okay? I don't do this, and the reason I don't do this is like, I'm only going to use final F pretending to be an S when I need it to be, when our pretending to be that final S sound, Z sound, when I need it to be. And the only reason I would need it to be that way is to avoid a conflict. So I would just write it like with the final Z. However, for a word like imposing, to make sure I don't have a conflict, I would use final F for that S or Z sound. Do whatever you like with it. My only goal here is to try to imprint all of this into your mind. And therefore, to really imprint it, more than just this webinar, more than this workshop, we have a workbook. So again, you'll be able to download the workbook, and I hope you look forward to that. Now, I know a lot of this might seem kind of like it's impromptu, like, oh my gosh, this is so flowing so well together, but trust me, it's not impromptu. My goodness, it's really not. My team and I have literally put hours into this presentation. So if you're enjoying it, even just a bit, definitely please share the video, share the links, let people know, because honestly, the stronger we are as stenographers, the brighter our future is. So, and yeah, so let's just share it. And honestly, I hope I impress you. And I'm not talking about being impressed with me. What I really mean is being impressed with how your writing can change, how it can really transform. So I really hope this does make an impression on you. Feel free to take screenshots as you want. Watch this a million times if you need to. I definitely want it to be imprinted on your mind. Which reminds me, we're on to the next word, impressive. You can use asterisk F for that IVE or that IV suffix. And what's beautiful about it is that you can just tuck it into so many outlines. Earlier, I was telling you it's imperative to look for patterns when you are learning. Now, one learning technique you could employ, or I guess a practice technique you can employ, is by practicing outlines that follow a pattern, the same pattern together in quick succession. And therefore, what that means is like maybe you can have sentences that have the word impressive and imperative together. That way you can really solidify the concept. It really helps things stick. Now, that's just one way of practicing similar outlines. We'll definitely cover some more techniques into practicing similar outlines. Now, finally, when it comes to the KB combo, you can actually use it for outlines that start with IMB, which actually brings me to another learning technique, practice technique kind of thing. Whenever you come across a word in a dictation or on the job or even while watching a Netflix or a YouTube video and you don't know what that word means, look it up, because if you heard it once, you're going to hear it again, and we want to be ready for it next time we hear it because we want to write it accurately. Imbue was one of those words for me. I was like, what is this word? But I was really trying to make the dictation dense with these concepts, and I was like, what are words that start with IMB? And honestly, there's not that many. Now, we've come to the end of part one, okay? We are about to embark on part two. So part one was the KV concept. We still have something more to explore. For part two, we're going to be diving into the SB concept. And if you're wondering why SB, just think Steno Barbie, okay? Because in Magnum Steno, we are going to use SB to write words that start with END, ENT, IND, and INT. Here are just a few of the words that fit under that SB combo umbrella. Now, a memory trick, I guess, is for the SB key combo, you want to think about the Steno Barbie. Steno Barbie is endearing, right? Everybody loves Barbie. Who doesn't love Barbie? Steno Barbie is endearing. She is independent, okay? She is intelligent and she is an entrepreneur. There is nobody on this planet who has had more careers than Barbie, okay? Because she's super intelligent and she's all about her independence. Now, let's just focus first on the end. And by end, I mean words that start with END. So in Magnum Steno, we use SB for words that start in END. That way we could write so many of them in just one stroke. And here are just a few words that you can use this concept on. For any words like that you see here on this chart and you're just like, I don't really understand it, probably it's because it includes another Magnum Steno theory or maybe even a brief that you're just not familiar with. But don't let that stop you from using the short writing concept. So for example, you want to think of the word, let's say the word danger. How do you write danger, okay? All you have to do is now think, okay, I'm going to use SB to stand for, instead of whatever I was doing for EN and whatever I was doing for D, just use SB. And then whatever is left, the danger, is what you will add to that stroke. All right, I wonder, how are you guys feeling about this endeavor so far? If you're feeling great, that's awesome. If you're feeling overwhelmed, press pause, come back another time, restart it, whatever you want to do. But regardless of what you do, you want to endeavor boldly on your mission to improve and shorten your steno writing. Now let's talk about the suffix S. which we use to make words plural or for, subject-verb agreement, right? So final Z is the default way for that, adding that S as suffix. We use final S though sometimes too, and that's for outlines that end in final T and final K. Now, if you're still here, I'm going to need you to endure for just a bit more. I know it's tough, okay? It's a boot camp. Boot camps are supposed to be tough. You're learning a ton of new concepts, and I know you're excited about implementing them into your daily writing. And honestly, it's going to take a time. Learning requires us to endure failure, to celebrate success, and to keep moving forward. Okay, especially in Steno, this is true because in Steno, you are going to have more failed tests than you will ever pass tests, and therefore you must endure. Enduring is so important in the learning process. Now, we're about to enter into a new concept, which I'm sure you've already guessed it. It's for words that start with ENT. And for these words, you are going to use the SB key combo. You'll use the SB key combo for words that start with ENT, just like we see here on the screen. Now, I want you to just imagine for a second when you're looking at this chart and you're looking at the first column that you just remove that ENT from the word. What are you left with? That is what will follow the SB. Now, we have the word enter here, but we also have the prefix enter. Now, I don't use the prefix enter. I will just write the word enter and then I will then define whatever comes after it. If it's supposed to be a word, I will just do that, okay? But for those of you who are not about that life, here is a conflict-free way of using the prefix enter. Now, I want to bring us back to a theory concept that we covered a bit earlier, which was using the LGTS for that tull sound. So you can see it's consistent, okay? We have title, we have battle, they both have that tull sound at the end, so we're using final LGTS to represent that sound. We also covered to add the ED suffix to outlines or words ending in final LGTS, we use asterisk DZ. Now, I hope you've already gotten this far. I hope you're having as much enthusiasm as you had when you first started, which on the screen, we have a brief for enthusiasm. Now, remember I mentioned using final F, sometimes it pretends to be an S. So that principle really holds true here as well. You use final FM for that ism suffix. You can also use final F pretending to be an S for the istic suffix, the ic suffix. You just add final K. You can use final K for an ic suffix for a lot of briefs. Now, I feel a little entrenched right now, right? We feel a little entrenched. We feel like, man, there's a lot happening. There's a lot, okay? Let me just tell you, this concept, this ench concept, this concept of using final FRJ for the ench sound, it's a Magnum Steno concept. It's taught in chapter 33. Now, why it's important that I'm bringing this up to you is it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to master it. So, for instance, chapter 33, yes, it may just be a few pages in the Magnum Steno textbook, but at StenoKey, participants are spending at least a week mastering just that one concept, okay? They have a video lesson that goes over a particular keyword, right? They have, first of all, for the chapter 33, there are 10 different keywords. Now, and they go keyword by keyword, and every keyword has that final NCH, that niche sound, right? And in these video lessons, not only are they reviewing their theory from chapters 1 through 32 so that they can understand everything that is actually in the dictation file, they are also then having a dictation file that just went over all these words, right? So what I mean by that is the dictation is going to be heavy, heavily concentrated. The keyword is going to be throughout their dictation file, and the dictation files are at 160 words per minute for 5 minutes. Chapter 33. And like, so here is an example of the actual transcript, the portion of it for the keyword ranch as taught in chapter 33. So you can see all of these sentences make sense, they all flow together, and they also only include words that are from chapters that are taught in chapters 1, 2 through 33 with StenoKey. So if you're interested and you want help, this is the way to go about it. You want to really solidify theory concepts, because once you solidify them, that's how you're going to eliminate that hated hesitation. Now, I trust that you've been having a great time and that you've been learning a lot. Now, I want you to think back to that Philly shift we talked about. We can use the Philly shift even when we use asterisk S. So we use asterisk S in Magnum Steno for words that end in ST, like entrust. Now, Magnum Steno teaches that for the asterisk, you're going to use your right pointer finger to hit it. Now, we have the word entrust. We want to make it entrusted. We can use the Philly shift, so we can grab that final D with our pinky. We have our ring finger hitting final S, and of course our right pointer finger hitting the asterisk. I know, it is a tough fingering combination. It's a tough stroke, but honestly, it could feel super easy with dedicated, concentrated practice. And the most efficient way to get it done, and the way you'll see super quick results, is with finger drills. You want to practice finger drills that are focused strictly on this key combination. Maybe you mix it up with the period or final FPLT to asterisk SD, final FPLT asterisk SD, and just maybe going back and forth until that feels comfortable. I can talk for hours about finger drills, but trust me, if this feels uncomfortable and you want it to feel uncomfortable and you want it to feel comfortable, do finger drills. Now, indeed, this has been a lot of information. And my goal is that it does leave an indelible imprint in your mind. Each of us are on an individual steno journey, and all of us are exceptional. And there's also some exceptions to the rule. For instance, the word individual is a brief, okay? And briefs don't have to follow the rules of theory. Now, even when you think about it, because I did think about it, how would you write individual using the SB combo? It would probably be 2 or 3 strokes, because individual, like, it's like 5 syllables, right? But of course I had to find a way. So here's a way that I came up with. It is not found in the Magnum Steno dictionary. I just felt like, hey, we can write individ and then, tuck in that final L, and yeah, individual in 1 stroke. Anyway, for the IND, we use the SB key combo, and here again are a few words that you can use this concept on. And of course, the chart. Now, the asterisk is the most powerful key on the entire stenotype machine. And it serves a lot of purposes. That's why it's so powerful. It does a lot, okay? So here we have a brief for indubitable. And then now we're going to use the asterisk to take the word to the next level. So by taking the word to the next level, here I'm talking about adding the "ly" suffix. And by the way, I do not use these briefs, but you will come across them in the workbook and in the dictation. During this webinar, we've already discussed a wide range of topics, a wide range of briefs, concepts, all of that. But it's really important to remember that you don't have to commit to learning everything today. You want to identify the key areas that resonate with your goals and your current needs. And then just feel free to dispense whatever information you just don't find relevant right now. You can always revisit these topics, these concepts, this video later when they just become more pertinent to wherever you are on your journey. Learning is seriously a continuous process. So we're never going to stop learning. We're never going to stop. So take what you want, dispense what you don't, and maybe come back for it later. Now, here is another concept, I guess. We have words that start with DSP and DISP, and what Magnum Steno does is they use the SDB combination, okay? This is taught in chapter 40, and here are a few words you can use it on. We have dispensable and then indispensable. Now, this is where we have that asterisk. We have the asterisk serving another purpose. The asterisk in this case is the magic mirror. Magic mirror. Magic mirror will show us the opposite. The opposite of dispensable is indispensable. You could also see it's taking it to the next level if you want, but dispensable becomes indispensable by using the asterisk. A big reason that we put this presentation, this webinar, this boot camp together is to bring awareness to the Steno Barbie petition. Fastest way to find the Steno Barbie petition is to just put in Steno Barbie petition into the web search engine and you will find it. And the whole purpose of this Steno Barbie petition is to really induce the creators of Mattel to make a Steno Barbie, because as we mentioned, Steno Barbie is intelligent, she's an entrepreneur, she's independent, and she's had all these careers. She needs to be a stenographer too, especially because it was made by a stenographer. By the way, you can see here we have inducing. We use that final F pretending to be an S. Now let's hop into the next concept. We have into. Now, writing into like this is pretty cool because you're going to be able to add so many right-hand phrase enders to it. It's going to save you so many strokes. So you can write all in one stroke into this, into that, into those, into these, into there, into my, into your, into his, into her, into it, into the. There are so many things you can do with right-hand phrase enders, and when you're writing into this way, you get to benefit from that. Now, speaking of right-hand phrase enders, when you think of everything so far that we've learned, like, yeah, they're cool. It is honestly really cool stuff. We're definitely going to be able to shorten our writing. However, when you think about it, how often are these words coming up? And they are coming up, of course. They're English words. They're coming up. But if you want to shorten your writing in a way that you can see the words that you've shortened or the phrases that you've shortened and you feel like you're seeing them on every single line of a transcript, whether it's a Q&A or it's a hearing or whatever it is, definitely consider the Speed Clinic. In the Speed Clinic, you're going to learn how to write more than 3,000 phrases, and I'm talking everyday phrases, phrases that you just can't even go a minute without hearing, okay? It's literally those common phrases that put our sentences together, okay? You will be able to learn that in the course of 3 days, and you have a ton of material to take home with you so that you can really master the concepts. So if you're interested in learning a whole bunch of right-hand phrase enders and really shortening your writing in an intense 3-day in-person boot camp, and honestly, it's intense, but it's digestible. It's so digestible. So if you're looking for that, definitely check out the Speed Clinic. We only have a few seats available. It's happening in the lovely Miami, Florida. So definitely, I'd love to see you there. And now that we've heard from our sponsor, let's jump back into our new concept, which is words that start with INT. For words that start with INT, we're going to use the SB key combination. And of course, here's our chart comparing Magnum Steno to the traditional phonetic way. As you can see, Magnum Steno can save you a ton of strokes. Think of just even how many strokes you can save within a 5-minute dictation. Now think about it with a 5-year career or even a 50-year long career, how many strokes you would save by using Magnum Steno. Your steno career is a marathon, not a sprint. The impact of keeping your writing, your body, and your mind intact is immeasurable. It not only ensures the highest level of accuracy in your work, but it also sustains your well-being for the long run. Never stop learning. Always try to learn a new skill or a new component to your skill, a new technique, because it's going to have a profound impact on your proficiency and, of course, your job satisfaction. Which leads me to this. Here is a learning technique you can incorporate. We have the word intact and we have the word impact. Now, if you don't really understand that SB is for words that start with INT and KB is for words that start with IMP, you're going to get a little confused. So there are two ways, or I guess there's a million ways, but here, let me share some ways that you could approach this. One, you can work on one of these words, right? Work on one of them and you work, let's say we pick the word intact. We're going to work on intact, okay? And we are going to make sure we master that word intact. We feel like we know it inside and out. We're getting really, really good with it. Once we've mastered the word intact, then we will master the word impact. And we're just going to get really good at it, really good at it, really good at it. And then once we're feeling really good about it, we feel like we've mastered it. Now we are going to practice these two words together in sentences where you have the word intact in the sentence and you have the word impact in the same exact sentence, or you could have alternating sentences, whatever you need. So that way you can truly know that you know the difference. So you're never going to be questioning yourself because you've trained yourself to write the word accurately as you hear it. Something that I've introduced to my StenoKey students, participants, those who are part of the StenoKey learning program is I actually have a team that will create dictations for you. So let's say you're like, hey, I need help with intact and impact. I want them to be in alternating sentences, whatever it is, however you feel like you'll learn best, or I'll meet with you and we'll discuss, or we'll make multiple options. You as a participant, as part of your tuition, it's all included. If you want dictation, you'll get that type of dictation. We have over 2,000 dictation files, and no, you don't need to do all of them. You just need to do what you need to work on so you can get to the next level. It's a totally novel concept in the whole Steno world, and it is definitely going to make an impact. Now let's talk about the word introduced. You see there's two different ways. One, we use the Felicia, that's fine. The other is we have the F pretending to be an S. Now, you can add both of them to your dictionary. Just add both. There's not a limit to how many words you can really have in your dictionary. Now, I told you it was going to be an intense boot camp, and I'm sure at this point you can see it, there is no lie. But that's what you came here for, right? You didn't come to a boot camp thinking it would be easy. So let's talk about another concept, okay? And it doesn't really have a name. I'm just calling it differential learning because it just makes sense when you think about it this way, okay? It's another way to learn, another way to practice. So remember, the asterisk is the most powerful key on our entire stenotype machine. It serves so many purposes. And it makes sense to sometimes practice similar concepts, but they're not really quite the same, together. So we have indispensable. The reason we are using the asterisk in indispensable is because if we didn't have the asterisk, it would just be dispensable. So we could think of our magic mirror. That's what our asterisk is doing. Whereas in the word indubitably, if we didn't have the asterisk, it would just be indubitable. We're using it to go to the next level. That's why we're using that asterisk. Now, what I'm trying to convey with this whole differential learning, it's basically showing you or emphasizing the importance of having these variations, like practicing them, understanding the difference between them, and even practicing them together. So if you can find a way to have indispensable and indubitably all in your same practice session, it will really help you understand the differences in the outline and of course understanding how to write the outline. And doing that, like that whole differential learning, will definitely make your practice sessions intense. And you want that. You want intense steno practice. And what I mean by intense steno practice, that means it's focused, it's deliberate, it's concentrated, and it's all about improving your skills on the machine. Now, when you are having intense practice sessions, you are going to realize that your skill is going to develop much faster because you're focusing on your weak areas by concentrating intensely on any problem area that you have. You're going to notice that you're really going to overcome any obstacles, any plateaus much quicker. The other thing is, when you think about an intense session and what it does to your mind and how focused you have to be, it really helps you build your stamina, which obviously is extremely important for when we have to sit and take down testimony for long periods of time. Now, whenever you come to the machine, you want to have a clear intent. Like, what is your intention? Why are you here? Before every single practice session, you need to be able to answer that question. And I'm not saying you need to answer it the day before. You can at least sit down to your machine and say, what do I need to work on today? Make sure your intentions are clear, because that way you can have targeted practice that will focus on the areas in which you need to improve. The other thing about your practice session, you want to have intent engagement. That means that you are practicing and you are fully focused on the task at hand. You are focused on the dictation or the sentences, the hard copy, the drills, whatever you're doing. You want to have intent engagement. You're just all in. And you also want to seek feedback. Okay, and the reason you're seeking feedback is for the intent to improve. And why that's important on the whole intent to improve is a lot of times people want to focus and practice on things they're already good at. You don't need that. What you need to do is work on the things that you are doing poorly with, okay? Because we never fail test, we never bomb a read back because all the words we knew were there. We mess up, we make mistakes because of words that we are weak on, words that we're not quite familiar with how to write. Therefore, we want to approach the files with an intent to improve, and we want regular feedback. Now, regular feedback can come in the form of a graded test or graded dictation if you're using a platform like EV360 or Real Time Coach. Regular feedback could even be from yourself, just reading your steno notes. Whatever you're doing, you need to know exactly how you did. That way you can better refine your mastery strategy, which in the workbook, you are going to have a mastery log. And in this mastery log, you'll see there's a rating scale and you'll see there's a chart at the bottom. You want to start recording your progress weekly on these I guess, concepts, right? You just want to do that so that way you can know where to better focus your time. And honestly, another thing that you have to really do whenever you're practicing, and especially when you're filling out this log, is to have integrity. And what I mean by that is be honest with yourself. You want to have integrity with your practice sessions. So that means if something is hard for you, admit it to yourself. Admit it to yourself, and then you work on it. By lying to yourself, you are not going to get far in this field. And you have to come to every single practice session with the mantra, I am going to be honest with myself. Because the thing about steno, it's intricate, okay? And it's not just about mastering exactly where the keys are located, but it's more than that. You're mastering key combinations, you're mastering how to get from one key combination to the other. You have to understand that whole relationship between the sounds, the symbols, and all of those, recognizing patterns, all of that to develop that muscle memory to actually be able to write verbatim what is said in real time. Super intricate art, right? And one way to get ourselves to practice this art, the easiest way, is if we have that deep intrinsic motivation. And what I mean by intrinsic motivation is that internal drive or that desire from within us that makes us want to practice. Whether we're practicing because we just enjoy it or we like a challenge, whatever it is, whatever it is, that is the easiest, fastest way to start practicing, is because honestly we just want to do it and not even thinking about the pressures of, oh, I'm only doing this because I have to, or I'm only doing this because I want a career, or I want to make more money. Like, it's deeper than that. Now, whatever your reason for practicing is, whatever you're working on, just think of it as something intimate, okay? Because the truth is, steno is really could be a solo journey. You know what I mean? It could be kind of isolating, and but that's good. That's really good for you. And the reason that's good for you is because it's your business. So even if you're a working reporter and you're like, hey, I'm going to work on my skills and I'm going to get better, I'm going to be a better writer, and you realize you're writing at 120 lit, more or less, okay? That's fine. Be honest with yourself and know, hey, I'm going to get better. I got better before, I'm going to get better again. And let that be your business. It doesn't matter what anybody else is practicing. The only thing that matters is what you're practicing, and that you are focused on your weak spots. But of course, focusing on your weak spots could seem a bit intimidating. And that's normal, completely normal. So I'm going to just give you a few tips on what to do when you come across a new theory concept, or just anything that you just feel like, hey, it seems pretty tough. First thing you want to do is you break it down. You want to divide that concept or chapter or even a page from the textbook into smaller, more manageable parts. So for instance, here we could learn, just instead of learning SB and KB, key combination, all at the same time, all on the same day, we can say, hey, I'm going to just focus on words that start with INT. And you might even break it down to, I'm just going to work on this one word that starts with INT. Break it down into whatever makes it manageable for you. The other thing is, you want to use multiple resources. There are a variety of resources out there, okay? You can use your textbook. If there are video lessons, you can use those. You can talk about it to somebody in one of these Facebook groups or whatever, wherever people talk about steno. You can do all of that. That way it's going to help you gain a different perspective, and you're going to have different explanations, and hopefully one or many of them will help the concept stick. The next thing, of course, and there's no, not doing it, is practicing regularly. When you're practicing regularly, especially in an area that you've seen as a problem and you've been starting to discuss it and you're reviewing the material, all of that is going to help reinforce your understanding on it and really boost the confidence that you are so after. Another thing that makes it fun, especially when something is intimidating, is to recite the material. So you can recite them, and this is really good also if you're like an audio learner, like the people that learn better by hearing things, okay? When you can do that, like, even if you don't feel like you're an auditory learner, it doesn't matter, because you want to engage in all the different learning styles, because again, it's going to help the material stick. So anyway, when I'm talking about reciting the material, let's take for instance this word intone. Whenever I hear the word intone, I feel like it's somebody stern, like it's an authoritative figure, intoned. And so I would practice writing that word intoned, and I'm saying it that way. That way I'm getting this whole mind, finger, ear connection. So definitely do that if that helps you, and trust me, it will. Now, you're going to have this Barbie dictation, and you're going to have the word intern, okay? And we'll talk about that. But let's look at it first here on the screen. We have our INT, so it's an INT word, so we're using the SB. Intern, we're using it, the final Z to add that S suffix. And then of course we can tuck in final L or add final L to intern to make it internal. Now, Barbie is on an internship, okay? Because Barbie is in our dictation, she is a stenographer. She is a stenographer. She's in Steno school. She's at the Empowerment Steno Academy, and she is offered an internship at the in Congress, right? So she's offered that, and you're going to come across the word internship, okay? So with internship, we have the SB for our INT, and then you even have the ER with the asterisk. So had talked earlier about how inter is the as a prefix, SB asterisk ER. And then we have the P for the IP. So you'll notice in your workbook, there is a glossary, I guess, or a dictionary in the back that has all of the words that we focused on in this webinar. But I also covered a lot of the ship words like friendship, fellowship, guardianship, partnership, just a bunch of those. And you'll see they all follow the pattern of asterisk IP. Only internship is different. So that's that. Yay, you made it to the end. So thank you so much for all your continued support. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, any comments, concerns, complaints, drop it in the comment box. Bye.